And welcome everyone to another video blog for collegesportsmadness.com. My name is Zach Bai, and again this week breaking down the FCS playoffs. In the beginning of the college football season, we had over 100 FCS programs with aspirations for a national title. Those numbers are dwindled down to just 4, and what a pedigree these 4 college football teams bring to the table. Let's start with North Dakota, the reigning national champions. They're going to wage war this weekend with Georgia Southern, who is in the semifinals of the FCS playoffs for a 3rd consecutive season. And then on the other side of the bracket, Sam Houston State, who was just in the national championship last season. They're going to go up against Eastern Washington, who was the national champion from 2 seasons ago. So these great historic FCS programs rising to the top out of the field that started with 20 just a couple short weeks ago. And let's start with North Dakota State getting a W over Wofford this past weekend, 14-7. Modest numbers all around offensively for North Dakota, but in the end, in a nice microcosm for their season and their program, North Dakota State had a huge stop in their own red zone against Wofford as they were driving, trying to tie that game at 14. They get stood up on 4 downs, and that's one thing, if you could say about North Dakota State, they are just a monster defensively. And it's going to be interesting to see them go up against Georgia Southern this week, who just hung 49 points this last weekend on Old Dominion, a 35 win. Georgia Southern, a good 10-win team out of the Southern Conference, and this past weekend they pick up a win against a pass-first program in Old Dominion, and the running backs and a pass-first quarterback for Georgia Southern get it done. Dominique Swope, 22 carries, over 180 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then of course the run first quarterback, I was referring to Jarek McKinnon, 171 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns, all on the ground. He only attempted 7 passes, so it's somewhat of a one-dimensional offense, if you ask me. And he's got 19 rushing touchdowns this year, does McKinnon. Those are great numbers, but if you can't get it done in the air, you're going to be dead meat for a North Dakota State run defense, who this year is just giving up a nationwide best 2.7 yards per carry, and believe it or not, just 3 rushing touchdowns this year given up by the North Dakota State defense. So again, as I picked in the beginning of the FCS playoffs, North Dakota State, I have them coming out of this game this coming weekend against Georgia Southern. And on the other side of the bracket, let's talk about Sam Houston State. Got a big 34-16 win over Montana State this past weekend. The 2nd straight year that Montana State was bounced in the quarterfinals by Sam Houston State. Quarterback Brian Bell threw for over 250 yards and 3 touchdowns, and a nice balance with the running back position. Tim Flanders ran for over 100 yards on 31 carries. And Sam Houston State defensively, a really nice stout effort, did not let up a 40-yard rusher to Montana State, and I was very impressed watching that run defense. And it's going to be interesting watch seeing them go head-to-head with the Eastern Washington Eagles, an 11-win team who just defeated Illinois State this past weekend 51-35, and Kyle Padron set a school record at the quarterback position for Eastern Washington with 6 passing touchdowns, almost shades of Tyler Heineke a couple weeks ago for Old Dominion, doing much of the same. Padron was 19 for 33 in the air, over 350 yards, a couple touchdowns to Brandon Kaufman on back-to-back possessions, believe it or not, early in that second half to really create some distance between themselves and Illinois State. And as I mentioned, this is the Eastern Washington team who was just national champions 2 seasons ago. Many of those same contributors still on this Eagles roster. But if you're going to pin me down and ask me to pick a winner, I'm going to choose Sam Houston State just because their balance of the run and pass game and their ability to shut down the run defensively. I'm going to choose the Bearcats to come out of that game. And so if you follow me on my prognostication, I am predicting a rematch of last year's national championship, a North Dakota State Bison versus the Sam Houston State Bearcats. And listen, I've been wrong before, I could be wrong now, but me, just like you, are going to have to wait and watch these games just like everyone else, and we'll see a week from now who will play in the national championship. I appreciate your viewership. I also appreciate collegesportsmadness.com for having me. For Zach Bye, I hope to see you next week.